Today on the Chat and Chew Show.
And I said hi, and you didn't say anything to me. And you're like, I didn't even see you.
And now we're having a meeting.
A whole meeting.
We're
having a whole meeting because I didn't even see you, right? So a misunderstanding. They are thinking that I walked right by you and you didn't say anything to me.
How dare you?
I know. Like, I didn't even see you. Sorry, right?
Hey everybody, it's your girl Roxanne, and today we're making sautéed spinach with cranberries and walnuts.
All right, well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Chat and Chew Show. We are so excited that you are with us today. My name is Betty.
And I'm Roxanne.
And hopefully you are having a fantastic day. As you know, Chat and Chew was designed to empower you to do relationships better. And we've been doing this for a little bit of time now.
I know.
And we're trying to get our groove on. So, not like that, but
I was like, are we? I didn't know that was happening on this show.
I know. Well, okay, yeah. So we're gonna add chat to a groove. That's what we're gonna be doing. Groove thing. We're gonna get our groove on. So today's show is gonna be really, really exciting.
Yeah.
We got a special guest with us that you'll get a chance to meet here in a few moments. But I think it's gonna be really, really empowering. I say this all the time. Everybody is in a relationship. You could be a coworker, an employee, a sister, an auntie, I was gonna say uncle.
You can be an uncle.
You could be an uncle. Yes, you can be an uncle.
Aunties and uncles.
Aunties and uncles. And oftentimes navigating through those relationships can be challenging. So that's why we wanted to create this podcast to give you tips and tools that you can do to make your relationships better. So as you guys know, I'm married. Now it is 31 years that I've been married. I know.
Ow.
I know. Crazy. And I have had my ups and downs. No, I'm joking. And then Roxy, tell us your story.
I have been not married 31 years.
Okay.
I was married for 5 years, and actually that ended in divorce. So I've been divorced now for now 3 years.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I'm out there in these streets.
Dating streets.
These mean streets.
Trying to get it together.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, today's episode, we're going to be talking about one thing that really can affect and ruin relationships. And so you guys want to hang with us. After the break, we're going to talk about some things that you can do to make your relationships better. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging with us here at the Chat and Chew Show. As we were saying right before the break, that relationships can be very difficult to navigate, and there's one thing that could ruin relationships.
What is that one thing, Betty?
And I don't know if you've experienced this before, but it is misunderstandings.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Misunderstandings. It can totally wreck a relationship.
It can.
I know I've been, misunderstandings, what we mean by that is that you are thinking about it one way, and then the person is thinking about it.
Yeah.
You heard what I said, thinking about it, and nobody ever really talks about it.
No, because that's the final resort. Like, talking about it is something you do after you go through all these fake scenarios in your head.
Right.
And then you go, I'm going to talk to them about it.
Right. And you know what? This happens a whole lot. This happens this happens at church a whole lot, right? You'll be in the hallway, and maybe you go to a big mega church, and there's tons of folks, and then one of the senior leadership, like the pastor's wife, not saying that has happened to me, but
very specific.
I know.
The pastor's wife.
And a person will be like, I saw you. No, first of all, they want to have a meeting with you.
Uh-oh.
I need to have a meeting with you. Can we talk? I saw you in the hallway, and I said hi, and you didn't say anything to me. And you're like, I didn't even see you.
And now we're having a meeting.
A whole meeting.
We're
having a whole meeting because I didn't even see you, right? So a misunderstanding. they are thinking that I walked right by you and you didn't say anything to me.
How dare you, baby?
I know. It's like, I didn't even see you. Sorry, right? That's one thing.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if you had this happen before. You call or text someone, and you know right now, it's like you must text and call back within a minute, right?
Oh, gosh.
So
I'm
you
not
don't
good at
text, you don't text them back. They're like thinking like, they think they, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then like, well, I've also done this, but like the person doesn't text back, especially if you're texting about something like, yeah, I'm sorry about that such and such, and they don't text back right away, so do you just keep texting things? Because you feel like either they're still mad or you're just like, until they respond, I'm just gonna keep texting stuff, because you know what I was thinking was this, and then I thought, and then
Right.
because what I was saying was
right. So another big old misunderstanding, and we're making light of this, but there can be some huge things that can happen too with misunderstandings. Here, this is another one I found, that misunderstandings can occur because you have poor listening skills.
Yes.
Somebody is trying to tell you something, right? And they're like, I don't want to go, and you're hearing, well, I can convince you to go. They're like, I said I don't want to go
yet.
You don't want to go yet. So poor listening skills. So now I'm feeling some kind of way because you said you don't want to go, but I said I'm thinking you don't want to go yet. So now we got this big misunderstanding, right?
Yep.
Or the opposite. You don't have the ability to communicate what you really want and need.
Yes.
You know? And so you're trying to tell the person I don't or I want or whatever, and they can't really hear you properly.
Yes.
And so relationships can be wrecked by that.
Yes.
I got tons of experience with this. So we have a special guest with us today. Miss, you want to introduce your friend?
Oh, sure. This is my friend Linda. And Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Linda is joining us via satellite, you
guys.
Roxanne, she always says via satellite. We're like, okay, what does that mean?
That is like so major via satellite.
I know.
Like I'm in California and you're like in Africa.
Right.
When I was growing up, they always said that on shows.
Yeah,
I was like, I want to
Twin
do that.
Satellite. Right. Cool.
Um,
So we are so excited to have you with us here on our Chat and Chew podcast.
Yeah, and Linda is a fellow podcaster.
I know, fellow podcaster. So tell us a little bit about your podcast and what your topic is and all of that.
Okay, well, my podcast is called Divor-say Podcast, and we just kind of changed the spelling of Divor-say sort of as a take. It's spelled Divorsay because it's like it's sort of a take on the word, a twist. And it was the brainchild of my daughter because she had sort of watched my relationship evolve into a full-blown divorce.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
she thought that it would be a great idea for me to come up with that and that people would be interested, because my initial thought was nobody wants to hear about divorces. But it actually turned out to really be a great platform for people. They wanted to come and share their journeys from their courtship through their divorces, and everybody has a story. So it's really been enlightening, and I've also sort of built a little bit of a community as a result of it, because some of the people, thank you, Roxanne, have continued to refer people, and so now we have like a little community of divorcee guests who kind of become friends.
Okay. Oh man. So how long have you been going? How the podcast been going?
Exactly a year. I think it
Wow.
was in November.
Okay.
In November.
So
Are you doing the podcast by yourself? Do you have a host? Tell us what to expect when we click into your podcast.
I'm generally by myself. We do it via satellite. we don't see each other. We talk via satellite.
Okay. So who is we? So who is we?
The person who I interview, it's usually one person.
Okay.
And I have different, as a matter of fact, I don't always talk about divorce. I also explore other topics.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, one of the topics that's coming up, I interviewed a psychologist.
Nice.
I'm going to talk about a topic that's familiar to a lot of us, narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay, wow.
There's so much to that, and that is actually an aspect of a lot of marriages that have failed.
Okay, wow.
So that's a topic I think that people will be interested in. So in addition to talking to women about their journeys from their courtship through the divorce, I also like to do topics that might be of interest to me.
Yeah, that is exciting. So my understanding is that you, of course, you're divorced, you said, and then you have children. So tell us about your children or your child.
I have a daughter.
A daughter.
And she is now a full-grown adult. She's
okay.
29 years old. And, it's just been a blessing to me. Again, she was the one who was the brainchild in terms of the Divor-say Podcast. And so, anyway, you bring up a good topic about miscommunication because somewhere along the line we had a miscommunication.
Yeah. So let's find out about, because this is unusual. You go through something in life and then someone says, you know what, you should start a podcast. It's not, so I'm finding it interesting that your daughter would think, Ma, you have a lot to say. Why not start a podcast? That's interesting.
Part of that is she had one of her own.
Okay.
And she's very involved with single moms.
Nice.
And she had started a podcast and she had gotten sort of in that podcast community.
Okay.
That because she was on the sidelines and she watched what I went through, she felt that I had something to share.
Yeah,
that people want to hear my story and they might be encouraged to know that they're not the only one that's going through things, that other people are going through kind of the same things. She identified with it. So basically that was the idea.
Would you say that the podcast then has been cathartic, like being able to talk it through? Because a lot of times when people go through life-altering things, they can kind of bottle it up and just kind of like back out from the world and that. Would you find that being able to talk about it has kind of helped with the healing and that too?
For me, it has, and I believe for my guests as well, because sometimes I don't have a guest. I'll go on myself and talk about my story.
Okay. Because
my story, I still find myself, I've been divorced for 4 years. Look, I'm looking at you like you know. I've been divorced for 4 years. You do know. And I still find that my life is still somewhat impacted by what I went through. Yeah. But it does help when I talk to other people. Yeah. Because I still do have, that it's a life-altering experience.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like any other loss. Like I did an episode recently on the 5 stages of loss. Mm-hmm. And so it's like a loss like any other. Yeah. So you go through steps. And so I'm still working through some of mine. But it does help to just talk about it.
Oh, good. Now, a delicious word. Let's chew.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Roxanne, and today we're making sautéed spinach with cranberries and walnuts. Now I sought after this recipe because I typically like the spinach, cranberry, and walnut salads in the summer. And so I was wondering if there's a way to make a warm salad that way. And so, of course, I was able to find something and add my own little tweak to it as well. So we're going to get started by pulling out our ingredients, and we're of course using spinach. I'm using raw baby spinach, and then cranberries, and these are dried cranberries, and some chopped walnuts. And so and also what we're going to need is some olive oil as well. So I'm going to start by heating my pan to medium, and I'm going to pour in the olive oil just on the bottom of the pan. And once that olive oil is a little hot, I'm going to put in my cranberries and my walnuts, and I'm going to let those cook for I did mine for about 2 to 3 minutes because I like them a little brown. And so once you get them sizzling, basically, because they may not, if your pan's not hot, you may give them a little time to sizzle and cook for about 2 minutes or so. And then once you have those cooked, then you can throw in your spinach, and you're just going to saute the spinach right on top of the cranberries and walnuts, stirring them in. And we're also going to add a little bit of vegetable broth. You can also add water if you don't want to use a broth. And what this does is just it allows your spinach to not like dry out, because that bottom your cranberries and everything may have sopped up some of that oil, and so you can go ahead and saute your spinach. And what I like to do with my spinach is, instead of leaving the heat on the entire time that I'm cooking the spinach until it's cooked, I actually turn it off once about like it's halfway wilted, just so I'm not overcooking the spinach. So once I see some of the leaves kind of turn and get a little wet, then I turn off the pan because it's already hot enough, and I keep stirring. And the rest of that spinach will wilt. And then also you're throwing in here at this time your salt and your pepper to taste. And just remember with your salt that your spinach is going to shrink down immensely. So you want to kind of use the salt sparingly so it's not too salty as well. And then once my dish is done, I put it on my plate. And what I'm adding as my little special touch is some fresh rosemary. And I started off by using this as a garnish just to go around the dish, but actually eating it with the spinach, it's a great flavor on top. It just gives it a kick on top of the flavors that you already have going. You have that sweet, you have a nutty flavor going on, and then that rosemary just adds a kick on the top. And so it's nice to eat along with that dish. So give it a try and let me know what you think. All right, until next time. One of the things I can say just as your friend too is I feel like it's also empowering. Like not just do you heal, but there's like some empowerment that you have by just like taking the bull by the horns and being able to talk about this with not only your own story but with other people. It's kind of cool that you're leading that network.
Yeah, that is huge. So you have a daughter, and I'm guessing your daughter has been a guest on your podcast.
She hasn't yet. She's coming up to. We've been talking about it.
Okay.
We've been talking about it, but I was on hers.
Okay.
And the discussion on hers is exactly kind of what we're talking about, was a miscommunication.
Okay.
If you will, I think that's probably the best way I can describe it. She had experienced some things when I was married, because I've had a very difficult marriage.
Okay.
Being married to a narcissist.
Okay.
And, she had experienced some things because when we started dating and through the marriage, she was young. When I first met him, she was around 7. And by the time this was over, she was 20 something. But,
oh, wow. Okay.
She had, during the time that I was going through that whole dysfunctional thing, I'm not from this area. I'm from out of state.
Okay.
And so it had gotten so bad at home, like with the abusive talk to me, and then as she got older was abusive to her, that I allowed her to go back to where we're from, to our home.
So if you don't mind, be a little bit more specific. So you said the abusive talk. So your ex-husband, he was verbally abusive to you, but not to your daughter.
To me, in the beginning. Like, this is something I learned from her recently. Like, we've been going through some counseling, and I've learned some things. And she said, she just talked about how he started with me, how she experienced it and observed it from age 8.
I see.
She said when she got to be about 12 or 13, then it was directed at her.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
It was bad. It was just not even just talk. It was also behaviors. Like things like when I would come, like she would come home from school. She actually would call me at work sometime and say, "Mommy, are you and you and your husband are you beefing?" She used to say that. "Are you beefing?" I would be like, "Why are you asking me that?" She'd say, "Because when I came in, he didn't speak to me." Well, she's in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
He didn't speak to her. It was things
like
that and just mean. And
So you said you and your daughter ended up having like some kind of misunderstanding because she's a woman now. So do you mind telling us a little bit about what the misunderstanding was around then?
Okay, so here all these years, we're very close, and she has always been very respectful of me, always. But as she got a little older, sometimes I noticed that, not that she was disrespectful, she wasn't as warm. I guess that's the way I can put it. And I didn't, and occasionally she would snap or something at me, and this is in the last year or so. And or snap at me or something, and I would say, "I don't understand why you're talking to me like that." And then she would just, one time when I said it, she'd be like, "Well, we just need to go to counseling." I'm thinking, "Well, we need to go to counseling." I don't think we need to go to counseling. Well, we don't need to go, because I actually told her I'm not going to counseling. I don't see why we need to go. Okay. But it happened a few times, or then times I would call her and she just didn't bother to call. I mean, I see her. We live nearby, and I have a little grandbaby, and we do see each other. But then that counseling thing came up. Then I didn't know why she wanted it. But then I didn't realize it at the time. Like I said, let me go back for a moment. I was on her show.
Okay.
She wanted to know why. She didn't understand why I sent her back to our home state to be with her father during the marriage.
Okay. So
she didn't understand.
So you and your ex, when you guys were in the heat of everything that was going on, the abusive relationship, you decided to, how old was your daughter?
She probably was in 8th or 9th grade, maybe 9th
So-
grade. I decided to let her go back home.
So when you say let her go home, you decided, I'm going to call my family back home. I'm going to pack my daughter up. Did you tell your daughter at all that you were going to do this? Or did she?
I didn't go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think for a child at that age, that's still a very volatile age.
Okay.
And she talks to me now about how she needed me as her mother with her. And didn't really understand, like probably she didn't understand why am I going home and mommy's not going.
So how were you able to explain to your 8th grader that I'm staying and you're leaving?
Okay, so I told her, you know, I asked her, do you want to go home just to get out of the environment? And she was like, yes. But see, now that she's an adult, now I'm having to explain it.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
Now I'm having to explain it because I'm seeing some things. She asked me on her podcast that she said, and I said to her, I sent you home to get you in a safe environment.
Okay.
And she said to me, oh, really? I really didn't know. I don't think she really knew at the time why I sent her home.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it's just a confusion.
Yeah. So like
Go ahead, baby.
I was going to say, like we're saying, you know, relationships can be ruined. But this is interesting because in her mind, she had perceived the whole experience one way. And then you, as the mom, you saw the experience a whole different way.
Right.
And now you guys are coming together. I find this so interesting. She invited you on her podcast just to talk about.
Because I think she was angry.
Yeah.
Because she, like you said, a misunderstanding. I sent her home for protection.
Right.
I think she could have very well thought she just want to be there with him and doesn't want me there.
Yeah,
you see what
for
I'm
sure.
saying?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's been her thinking.
Yeah.
And that may have been her thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard her clearly say that.
Okay.
But I think that's what she could have possibly been thinking, that I just want to be with him. And I think in retrospect, I probably should have, even if I was going to stay here, taken my baby and we should have gotten an apartment.
Okay. Yeah.
But there was so much going on at the time. My thinking wasn't clear.
Yeah. Oh, no, I can definitely see that. Yeah. So during the conversation on the podcast, were you the one, I mean, obviously she asked you, did she say it like this, mommy, why you leave me? How did she say it?
No, but before we actually started to record, she asked me why I had done it, and I told her why. She said, oh, well, I didn't know that. So on the podcast, she would just basically ask some of the questions that we're actually going through, because we're talking now to a professional.
Okay.
Just ask me some of the, more or less, not even about me, but a lot about how her being out there sort of alone, because I think she felt like that impacted her. I sent her to her father.
Okay.
But I think that she felt that she needed my guidance. And so we mostly talked about how the absence of that guidance affected her. Also, she talked about, and she's still talking about, how seeing my extremely dysfunctional marriage has affected her and her relationship.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to know, now that you guys are working through everything, do you feel like you yourself had to give up something? And what I mean by that is, like, you had to like give up your pride, like humble yourself to hear your daughter, or were you just like, girl, I sent you because didn't you know I was? I mean, did you feel like? Do you feel like I got to go there with it, or did you like?
That's what I was saying to you when she first asked me about going to counseling. I'm like, son, I'm not going to counseling. And so finally, I told her, because I thought I was being very fresh and smart. I said, well, you pay for it then. And she did.
Oh.
She showed you.
Yeah, she showed me, because I said, well, I'm not paying for it. And that was because I had spent so much money over the years, and I was actually feeling like, I don't think this counseling thing is necessary. I was thinking that. I mean, I have to realize my daughter is an adult, so she knows what she needs. And
Right.
I don't think that I realized that she really was working through some major issues, and I'm only recognizing it now, like in these last couple months, that she has really truly been dealing with issues because of that whole thing. Not only seeing the abuse that I had to deal with, seeing the abuse that she did, dealing with her abuse, then with me sending her away from me, and she didn't have any structure. I think one of the things she said was, I really needed you as my mom there with me at that volatile time as a teenager. I needed you there with me. And then she said she didn't have the structure she needed. Then she went right from that unstructured environment into a college unstructured environment.
Right. Where you think you're grown and you know everything.
You know, it's just been it's been eye-opening for us to have the opportunity to talk about it.
So what I'm
hearing you say to me, and I think for our listeners who are especially dealing with a relationship that's really close to them, and they're dealing with this misunderstanding, or they know something's wrong, maybe they don't know it's a misunderstanding, is that one, you probably need to like humble yourself and just
that's what you need to do.
Yeah, so and not be all like, you know, cause the reason right.
I was all telling my girlfriends, I am not going to counseling. And then so she appreciated it, because when I went, she thanked me for going.
Okay, nice.
Going and listening.
So now
that you guys are, I'm going to use the word reconciled, because in your mind you wasn't.
That's a good word.
Yeah, that you're reconciled. What would you say to people who are probably challenged right now in that type of, misunderstandings or relationships that are difficult? What is the one thing you could say to them that would help them maybe start thinking about doing something about repairing relationships?
First of all, do listen. I mean, I think because you're you're the parent of the child, we think we know everything, Betty.
Right.
We think we know everything, but one thing we don't know is how they feel on the inside. Don't make an assumption.
That's good.
Or not ignore them or not listen because you think you're the adult, you're the mother, and that you know everything.
Right.
You don't. I realized I just didn't know my child was hurting. I did not know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I say to anybody, like, the first time your child tells you that they're hurting, or maybe they need to, let's go to counseling together. Let's talk about this. Let's sit down and talk about it. Sit down and talk about it, because I feel like I'm in a totally different place with her now. And I think she does too, because I can see some changes.
Wow, that's good.
Some softening, some, picking up, returning that phone. Look, with those texts. I would text her, so I text her. So what happened? I text her, and she just never answered one day for like hours. And I said to her, well, when you finally decide to text to be back, so one thing the counselor did tell her, if you're busy, just say, Mom, I can't text you. It's to the point I think she was thinking, whatever, because I'm sick of her anyway. I'll just call when I get away. So you do want that return. We know that instant gratification. We want that phone call right back.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is to listen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I think another thing too, and you can speak to this, is that you should own the responsibility or what you contributed to it. You know what I mean? A lot of times we can kind of look at other people and think, you did this, but what part did I play in that too? So owning the responsibility of it,
Yes. I had to, I made a lot of mistakes. You know what I mean? I thought I was doing, and even with her going home to my family and to her father, I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah.
I did. So now I'm able to say it was not.
Yeah.
It was a mistake that I made along with others at that time because so much was going on. But I thought I was doing the best thing for her at that time, and it was the best that I could do, you know, based on what I was going through in my head. It was the best that I could do, and I thought it was the safest thing. Like, there was nothing physical, but I just didn't want my daughter to be so messed up in her head because she experienced such a living in an awful relationship.
Wow.
Well, I would say this is huge of you, because I think people who would listen to this podcast, who are going through it, I think what you share can be life-changing for them. You know, that they maybe will give them courage to be able to say, I want to repair this relationship. And so we want to thank you so much for being able to share your story. And Roxanne, I don't know, I'm just hogged up the whole conversation, but is there anything you want to add?
Really good questions. I just want you to know.
Anything you want to ask?
No, well, I can just say, I just want to commend your ability to, like, go through this process and, like, listen, like, to be able to say, okay, that was wrong, but then also, like, give yourself some leeway too, because I think sometimes people have a hard time facing what may have gone wrong in the past because they also aren't ready to forgive themselves. So they hold, like, everybody hostage.
That's good.
And we can't talk about it at all because I'm not ready to forgive myself because I don't want to face that. So I want to commend you for that.
But I just it was interesting that you said that, because that's what the counselor said to me. She said, you know, you have to start you as the mother forgiving yourself. She said that because I know that there was a time when my daughter was saying, you know, I was giving her a whole lot of financial, you know, support, but she didn't feel that I was, and I think it was during that time, she felt that I was just giving financial support because I was here and she was there, and she didn't feel like she was getting that nurturing that she needed. And so there was a whole thing about me overcompensating financially, not doing it knowingly.
So this has been just such a good show. Thank you again, like we said earlier, for, you know, all the wisdom and advice and your vulnerability to be able to share with our listeners. So I think that is the end of our show. So please tell everybody where they can find you, your podcast, and all of that.
Okay, my podcast, Divor-say Podcast, again, it's Divorsay Podcast. And if you go to soundcloud.com, just type that in, Divor-say Podcast.com, and my episodes will just pop right up.
Okay, fantastic.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for hanging with us. And again, the intention of this show is to empower you to do relationships better.
This show was brought to you by the Chat and Chew Company. Music by Elwood Jones. Lyrics by Roxanne. Bring a Chat and Chew live event to your organization. Contact us at chatandchewshow@gmail.com.